very much. It's great to be here. I'm delighted to join you and to share an insight into life at Badminton School and our passion for education. So where to begin? Well, I think the thing I'd like to share with you today and my topic today is all about how we embed academic excellence in a slightly different way. Of course, the lessons at Badminton School are absolutely phenomenal. The teachers are absolute passionate subject specialists, but learning doesn't stop in the classroom for us. We believe that learning is a lifelong activity, and that's what I want to share with you today. So let me just try and move on my slide. There we go. How we learn at badminton. So we really believe you have to get under the skin of a subject. You really need to understand what it's about. Of course, we know at the end of all of our courses, the girls need to get excellent grades in order to progress to the next level of academic study. However, we believe that's not enough. We want them to really understand the material they're handling, to explore it, to find out if it really engages them and if it's something that they want to pursue in their academic future. We think the way to do that is not by answering more questions, but rather by getting involved. So there's lots of practical engagement at badminton. And as you can see in the slide there, we've got one of our science students working with a jar of liquid nitrogen. Now, handling that much liquid nitrogen isn't normal in a secondary school. In fact, it's even quite rare at undergraduate level. But we work with the University of Bristol to train our students very highly in scientific practical skills so that they can get this type of experience. Our whole aim is to really broaden their understanding and knowledge and not just fill them up with facts. We want them to really be able to put what they learn into context of the whole world so that they can take it forward and apply it. I guess ultimately what we want them to do is to have the skills that they can future-proof themselves. We all know how fast the world is changing. I myself have been back to university and studied recently, and it was a very different experience from when I was at university as an undergraduate all those years ago. The world is changing, not just in the way we study, but the way we work and the way we live, and people have to adapt all the time. In order to do that, they need to be confident, and they need to be curious, and they need to be prepared to give things a go. So this practical, hands-on approach is really teaching them a way to live their life, as well as embedding fantastic understanding, so a happy byproduct is excellent exam results. Oh, moving slide. So, as we do this, we don't just stay within the walls of the school. We really try and engage with a whole range of people across the world to make sure that the experience is really meaningful and challenging for the girls at school. Sometimes those interactions are real. Of course, recently with COVID, a lot of those interactions have been virtual. But our science research teams, for example, have worked with all of the partners that you see on screen. Why do we do that? Of course, it helps us inspire the girls, but I think there are some key take-homes from it. I think if they're interacting with professionals in the field of science across the world, they're beginning to understand the level they have to work at. There is no room for not meeting a deadline. There is no room for not performing at the level required. It's really teaching them to work in a professionalized way and understand what commitments mean in a workplace context. So, what else do I think they get from it? Well, for example, at the Big Bang, you see the logo there. We were fortunate enough to be the only school to present at the UK Young Scientists and Engineering Fair called the Big Bang. The audience there was 40,000, and we had girls aged 15 to 18 presenting. Not many students that age present science to an audience that size. That is a fantastic experience for them in terms of communication skills, confidence, and also teaching them to be bold and engage this level of phenomenon. Not all of those girls that presented at that fair are going to go on to be scientists, but that doesn't matter because they can still take away those transferable communication skills. In some of the other situations, for example, the Colours of Ostrava Festival, the girls had to travel to Czechoslovakia and work outside their comfort zone with people from across Europe and Czechoslovakia, speaking in many languages to demonstrate the science principles that they were asked to deliver at that festival. So each of these experiences is quite different. Sometimes they're presenting to a massive audience, sometimes to quite a niche audience, sometimes to old people, sometimes to the very young if they're taking their projects into schools. So they also have to learn to be really adaptable, accommodating, and understanding of the challenge. Back in school, the girls do undertake detailed science research as well. We're really fortunate in Bristol to have very good universities on our doorstep, the University of Bristol and the University of West of England. We often work closely with them to set the girls' science research project. It is useful that sometimes we link those to something called a Gold Crest Award, because that means they can accredit their research and put it on their file and their CV for the future. However, we're aiming higher than that. We want the girls to learn how to write academic reports that will be useful for their next stages for university. We want them to get excited about asking scientific questions. We want them to know how to work as a team. A lot of these projects can't only be taken by just one student. It needs to be a team of students. They've got to rely on each other. They've got to have effective delegation and effective communication. So again, if not all of these students go on to be scientists, that's fine. We're teaching them transferable skills. Beyond that, some of these research projects lead to scientific papers. These are some of the recent things that girls at our school have published. I'm really proud that students leave Badminton School not just with amazing A-level results or GCSE results, but also attributes like being an author of a published scientific paper. That's really showing them that they should be contributing to the world. And that's what we're hoping part of our education at Badminton does. Alongside these fantastic qualifications, alongside all of the other skills, we want them to realise that as educated individuals, they should be making a difference in the world, they should be contributing, and that they should be proud of that. We certainly are. It's not just science. I know I've used a lot of scientific examples in the last few minutes. However, across the school, this is the approach of every department. So I'd like to share a few more examples with you now. Our languages departments are really a good case in point as well. Of course, the girls can speak language in class to each other, be it Spanish, Chinese, Russian, Arabic, you name it, they'll give it a go. But it's very different sat in a language class that you've prepared for to in a different context. And so we find as many ways as possible to explore the language. We can't travel to all the different countries all the time. And so what we do is we set up other opportunities. A really good example is how we meet with other local schools and we host debates in different languages. So girls, for example, will meet and talk about an important, perhaps political or educational topic, and they will do so in French or German or Spanish. And that is really good because they have to think on their feet in that language. They can't prepare totally, and they've got to keep explaining and justifying themselves to other people. So they really have to dig deep and find what words they know and how to get around the problem. Something we really enjoyed last year was a fantastic play by the Spanish department. It was one of our A-level set texts, and the girls asked if they could perform it as a play. We said yes, thinking, gosh, is that a good idea? It's an awfully big piece of work, but they learnt all the lines in Spanish. Other girls wrote subtitles, which they scrolled across on a screen alongside the stage. And so even the girls who were learning Spanish who didn't want to appear on stage could join in and participate in a different way. And it really gave them an empathy for the language and the culture. Now that was at A-level, but further down the school, we have a lot of fun with languages too. Recently, we had years 7 and 8 perform fairy tales in different languages, largely French and German. Now, fairy tales are stories which many of us know. We know the background story, so we don't need much translation. We can follow it without subtitles. But it gave the girls enormous confidence and, I think you can guess from the photo, a great sense of fun to give a go at performing stories they knew in these different languages. We certainly enjoyed watching them. Another area of school life that is really strongly emerging is business and entrepreneurship. As was mentioned earlier, I recently went to the Judge Business School to study for a diploma in entrepreneurship. And I'm glad I did because it is such a fast growing field in education. And I feel that my job as head of the school is to make sure I'm keeping what we offer at Badminton current, relevant, and appropriate for the future of the young girls who are studying there. We've seen entrepreneurship departments of all the UK universities grow enormously in the last 3 to 5 years. So we thought, let's bring it into school. Let's help the girls understand this future opportunity. So where we start is, in fact, not with our enterprise fund, which is in year 7, but actually in year 6. I teach the entrepreneurial mindset skills to girls in our year 6. That's the sort of 10 and 11-year-olds. I teach them about teamwork, communication, the importance of iterative processes. And these are not just great to build entrepreneurship skills in these young people, but I think they're really valuable for life. We can all see the value of communication and of teamwork, but iteration, I think, is underrated, but so important. If we teach young people to think like an entrepreneur, when they get a piece of work or one of their projects, entrepreneurial projects back, and they get feedback advice, so this didn't work, that didn't work, you need to improve this, they need to look at it like an entrepreneur. Okay, that's useful information. How do I solve that problem and make a better version next time? If we can get them to have this approach to feedback, then when they get their feedback to their academic work, they can apply the same principles. Okay, so I got a B. What was it that held me back from getting an A? How do I improve upon it? What steps do I need to take to ensure that happens next time? So we think this is great skills for lifelong learning as well as entrepreneurship. So we embed it in year 6, and then from year 7 onwards, it really is a practical approach. We have a seed fund, which was donated by local charities, for girls to apply and pitch their businesses so that they can gain seed funding to set it up and run it. They have to then generate enough income to pay back the seed funding so that it's there for the next year's students. We think this is a great way of running an entrepreneurial activity because they have to make a viable pitch in order to get money. They can't just say, I think I want to do this. They've got to show us how they're going to spend the money, how it will enable their business, and then how the business will become self-sustaining and pay back the seed funding. Working with real money, real projects, real sales, being accountable in that way for 11, 12 and 13-year-olds, we think is really, really exciting and important. If there are challenges in the team, if there are some friendship fallings out, they can't walk away from it because they've got a contract having taken that money. So they have to work through those things, which is a really important life skill. They find this experience hugely fun at first, sometimes frustrating as they find the challenge of actually taking a product to market bites in. And at the end, when they work through all those problems, they find it really, really rewarding. So we think this is a great scheme that we've developed. Moving on from that, girls at school take part in national competitions. The Peter Jones Foundation is a huge entrepreneurial foundation in the UK. Peter Jones is very well known in the UK for running a program called Dragon's Den, where entrepreneurs pitch and it's shown on television. Our girls entered his Tycoon Enterprise competition last year, along with hundreds of thousands of schools and their different teams across the UK. And I'm so proud to say that Badminton's team won nationally. They were the overall winners of the whole competition. And our team, called the Citrus Way, who made all sorts of citrus-based cleaning products, they are now taking their business forward. So it was more than just a win in a national competition for them. They are now scaling up their business, which is something that I think is hugely exciting for 16-year-olds to be doing. So, why are we so passionate about all of this work outside the classroom? Well, I hope I've begun to convince you that the importance of doing this work is to bring wider skills that pupils today will need in their uncertain future. The world is changing. These young people will have to adapt throughout their career. They may even have to totally adapt and change their career into a new professional sphere. So we need to make sure that they are resilient, communicative, able to adapt in a team, willing to think and problem solve, and to keep going no matter what. We think all of these projects help them do that. We also really believe that by exploring science, humanities, arts and languages in all these practical ways, the girls understand the subjects so much more deeply and effectively than if they were just sitting in a classroom ticking the boxes to jump through the exam board hoops. This enables them to make much better choices about their next steps to university and beyond. And by doing that, we see that badminton girls go on to succeed in their degrees. They don't drop out, they don't change subject, they absolutely thrive and fly at university, and that's what we want. The badminton experience is an experience for life. It's not just for the days they're with us, and we really believe that our approach is enabling that. I hope I've excited you with some of the things going on at badminton. I certainly love being here because there are so many innovations, challenges and new ideas that help me make badminton an exciting place. So I hope you want to find out more. And if you do, I think there's a chance for question and answers now. So over to you. Thank you very much.
Bex, and thank you for sharing that with us. So we'll begin the Q&A session of our presentation. And I'll start off with the first question. How does the admission and entry process typically look for an applicant from Hong Kong?
That's a really great question. So an applicant from Hong Kong, normally I would hope to meet you by coming to Hong Kong, although this year, obviously, we're working a lot more virtually. So the process will involve engagement with the school. We need you to find out about the school and then register. Once you've got to a point where you're pretty certain badminton's one of your handful of schools and you've registered, our admissions team will be in touch with you, making sure you've got all the information you need. And from there, they'll advise you about how to go through the assessment process. The assessment process from Hong Kong can involve a UCA set, a detailed reference from your current school, and an interview of about 20 minutes with myself or one of my senior colleagues at badminton. And for us, it's that interview that's really important. The senior school at badminton is about 360 pupils. And so we really need people who are keen to join our environment because every individual makes a difference. So us talking to you is what really informs the choice about the next steps.
And thank you, Bex. And just to follow up on that, what are the available points of entry at badminton?
Good question. So our usual entry points are year 7. We do have some year 5 boarders join us, but that's usually quite a small entry point. Year 7 is a main entry point, year 9, and then 6th form. 6th form is our most competitive entry point with usually several hundred applicants for about 10 to 15 spaces. So that one's quite a tough one. And that's based on competitive entry where we'll ask you to sit papers in your A-level choices alongside the interviews as well.
Thank you, Bex. And the next questions are just a bit more about campus life. So could you share more on how a typical campus life is for the girls at your school?
Yeah, absolutely. We're really lucky at badminton. We have got a lovely leafy green campus and it's all enclosed. Everything's on one site, which makes us have a little world here that we can live in. So for the girls, if you're a boarder, your boarding houses in one of those areas on campus, we have 3 main boarding houses, a junior one for years 5 to 8, a middle years one for years 9, 10, 11, and then a 6th form space, which is a kind of a pre-university experience. So you'll be in your boarding house. And the thing about our boarding houses on weekdays, when you get up and go to breakfast, you take your school bag with you and then you're out for the day. The boarding house shuts in the daytime so that together with our day girls, you have to have organised yourself and been responsible. We think that's really important because we want girls to learn to prepare themselves for a working day, just as if they were going out to university or going out to the office. And so that really helps with that preparation. On campus, of course, in the morning, they meet their tutor first thing, who sets them up for the day ahead, makes sure they know what they're doing, checks in with them. Then we have assemblies, either whole school or year group. Then we go through the day of lessons and sports and activities. And our dining hall is central on campus. All the girls eat in the main dining room. And that's a key feature of the day for snacks at break, a fantastically versatile lunch, tea time snacks to keep them going before a hearty supper. Throughout the day, there's opportunities for clubs and activities, be it at lunchtime or tea time or after school. And the girls really see the whole campus as their own home. That's what's fantastic about our borders. So if they want to be doing artwork in the evening, the art block is open for them. If they want to go to the music block to practice their instrument, the music block is open for them. It's all supervised, it's all safe, it's all on campus, and they really make the most of all the facilities. I hope that answers your question. It's quite a broad one, so I tried to give quite a broad overview there, but if there's anything more specific, do ask.
Great. No, I think that was great. The next question is, in terms of borders, how many borders are at Badminton, and what is your diversity? How many are international students? Where are they from?
Yeah. So in terms of boarding at the moment, we've got about 190 boarders at Badminton. Those are the full boarders. On top of that, we have some weekly and flexi boarders who are very locally based, and that tends to be that they're weekly or flexi because of their other commitments. In terms of the spread of our student body, we have obviously a large number of quite local students, and then on top of that we have, I think it's 27 different countries represented at the moment, and Hong Kong is quite, I would say, a leader in our overseas borders, but also Thailand, China, Russia, Spain, Germany are also quite up there as well.
Great, thanks, Bex. The next question is, it is coming from more of our international students. Do you have a recommended year of entry in terms of competitiveness for international students? Should they be coming in? Is it easier at 11 plus or 13 plus, etc.?
I would say 13 plus and 11 plus are definitely easier than sixth form. And you know, that's just a fact of life, because I think more people are ready to leave at sixth form and want that pre-university experience of boarding. But what I would say is we really encourage parents to know what's right for you and for your daughter. For us, there is no one right point. We will occasionally take a year 10 girl, we'll occasionally take a year 8 girl, just because the family circumstances suit that family, that girl at that time, and we have a space available. So we really want families to talk to us about what's right for them. Now, sometimes it happens, people come and have an 11 plus assessment, and we meet a fantastic family, a fantastic girl who are so right for badminton. They get the spirit of the school, they will fit in academically, and we say, yeah, we'd love to have you. But they're wobbling about it, oh, we're not sure. We say, look, we're going to make the offer, and you just let us know if you're going to come at 11 plus or 13 plus. So all the time, once we know you, once you're in our registration process, we'll work with you to what's best for you. We don't want anyone to come just because that's the easiest way to get in. We want you to come when it's right for you.
Thank you. And in terms of graduates, what universities do badminton school graduates typically attend?
Good question. So obviously every year there are applications to Oxford and Cambridge, and we see a steady trickle there every year. Medical schools is probably our most common type of organisation. The London one's being very popular with the girls in particular. I think after that, Edinburgh, St Andrews are popular. Exeter is very popular, and strangely enough, Bristol is also quite a popular university for us. Durham a little bit, but not quite so much. And then after that, it's just a big range according on the students' interests. We do have a regular number of girls applying every year to music conservatoires and art schools and art foundation courses, and we're really happy to prepare for that. Also, every year we have girls go to the US, Tufts, MIT have been popular in recent years, and we can go through the American application process too. We've even overseen applications recently to Canada, Hong Kong, and Europe. So our sort of approach to higher education is we find what's right for the individual, and that's our aim, is to achieve that for them.
Thank you, Bex. And I believe we have time for one more question. Next question is, why badminton? What's different from badminton in terms of what they offer for girls' boarding education compared to maybe some of the other schools?
I think what's different about us is really what I spoke about, that we have this hugely practical approach to education. I know everyone says our education's holistic, it's one of the things you see on every website, but I truly believe we are quite unique in the level we take that to. the fact that we're partnering with international organizations like CERN, the Institute of Physics, and we have these opportunities whereby girls are winning national entrepreneurship competitions. The girls here are so practically engaged with their subjects. And I think they can do that because badminton is a very small community. We're by choice a small school, and that means that we know the girls, they know us. It's a very comfortable environment. Now, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean it's easy here. What I mean is everybody knows each other and is very, very confident. And I think when you're that confident in the environment you live in, you can take risks because you know the people aren't going to laugh at you or judge you. They'll just say, go on, give it a go. And in order to learn, you have to push the boundary of your understanding. You have to go outside your comfort zone. Learning is a risky business. And if you're in a fantastic supportive environment, you can really push that boundary confidently. So I think that, coupled with the opportunities we give for really practical engagement, makes quite a special place to be.